everyone, and welcome to this tutorial in which we will paint this fall leaf. Supplies for today: I've got my palette of paints, an extra palette for mixing, a spray bottle, water, tissue paper, and for my brushes I've got a size 2 rigger for my detailed line work. I've got 2 size 4 round brushes and a round size 8. But to be honest, most of them are just for convenience. The only brush that you really need in order to be able to do this tutorial is a size 4 round. Everything else is optional. Today I'm going to be painting in a Baohong sketchbook. They come in various sizes. This one is around an A5 size, and the green cover means that it has got 300 GSM cold press paper inside. I'm going to start with my pencil sketch already on the page. You can find the link to the free traceable sketch reference in the description box below. This tutorial and all of its sketches and pictures of the final sketch can be found on my Patreon channel. You can join as a free member and have access to all of these references and video. I'm going to start by preparing my 2 green colors first before I do my wet on wet layer. I'm going to prepare a light green color first, and to do that I'm going to make a mix firstly with Hansa yellow light, and I want it to be a nice bright green, so I'm going to mix French Ultramarine with that. I'm just going to add a bit more yellow. That's a nice light green, and now I'm going to prepare a slightly darker green. For that I'm going to start with some new Gamboge, and then to that I'm going to add some phthalo blue. Let me add some more new Gamboge. If you are interested in watching the video on this palette of 18 colors and my color choices that went into it, I will link the video in the description box below. I think I'd like it a bit yellower still. Let me add a bit more new Gamboge. That's better. I'm going to use my larger size 8 Princeton Neptune round brush now, and I'm going to work wet and wet in this layer. I'm going to get some water down on the whole leaf. I'm not going to worry too much about getting into each of the edges, because the green that I'm going to lay down now is going to be in the center of each segment here. So I'm going to put water down and just try and cover most of the leaf, but not worry too much about getting to the edges. I want the water layer to be glistening but not pooling. Then I'm going to pick up my smaller size 4 round brush, and I'm going to start with the lighter green first, and I'm going to dot that in around the center of each segment, as I said. I'll just add some water where I feel that it's not spreading quite enough. There's a bit of a hard edge up here. I'm just going to add some water around the edge to that. Now I'm going to pick up the darker green color and just stipple that on either side of the center line. These are just the remnants of the green leaf that it once was. I could now go in immediately with my red color, but because the colors in the sketch are so vibrant, I'd rather give the green an opportunity to dry completely before I come in with my red layer. I just don't want any hard edges, so if I see any edges forming, I'm just going to add a bit more water and even just send it to the outside if I need to, just so that I don't have any edges to the green, that it all just blends out to the edge naturally. So I'm just going to do that and allow it to dry at the same time. And maybe I'm just going to add a little bit more around the middle here, where everything seems to be blending out quite a bit. but I don't want it to be too dark, so I just mustn't overdo it. Now I'm going to let that layer dry. Now that that is completely dry, I'm going to work on each of the segments of the leaf from the outside in, using a graded color from quite an intense red to more of an orange as we go to the center of each segment. I think what I will do is maybe mix up 3 prepared colors because I'm going to work one segment at a time. I'll get the colors ready so that I can drop them in the areas that I need to. I'm going to mix up 3 different colors with different mixes of Quinacridone Rose, Pyrrol Scarlet and New Gamboge. I'm going to put the yellow in first because that can get easily tainted by the red. To this well I will add the Pyrrol Scarlet. So that one I've mixed with Pyrrol Scarlet. This one I'm going to put Quinacridone Rose. So I think what I'll do is work this one first on the outside, which is the Quinacridone Rose mix, which is darker. Then move to this one and then this one if I need to. Because I need to be quite accurate with the outer edge of each of the leaves, I'm going to stay working with my number 4 brush. But maybe what I'm going to do is get a separate brush just to lay the water down so that I don't have to get this one completely clean every single time. So I'm going to put water on the whole segment of the leaf at the top left here. And I'm just paying attention to not go out the lines. And I'm going to extend the water beyond the area that I want to work in right now, just so that I don't get a hard edge. Then I'm going to take my darker red, which is in quite a creamy, thick consistency, as you can see here. That's exactly what I want because I don't want it to blend too far and I want it to retain its vibrancy. I'll start by putting that on the outside. Then I'm not even going to rinse off my brush. I'm just going to dip it straight into the deeper orange color and do that just on the inside of where I've just been working. It obviously wasn't wet enough here, it's not really blending. I'm just going to rinse off my brush and trying to encourage a little bit of blending here. Then I'm going to pick up that New Gamboge and just drop it in there as well. I quite like that. I think I'd like it a bit more intense red on the top there. It's blended away from the edge a bit, so I'm just going to take a bit of that thicker consistency on the tip of my brush and then just dot it in there. I'm happy with that. And then I'm going to basically do exactly the same thing for the other 4 branches of the leaf. Every bit of support that my YouTube videos get help me to grow my channel. And supporting me doesn't have to cost you anything. If you are enjoying this video, please click the like button below. Let me know what you think in the comments. And also let me know the sorts of videos that you would like to see in the future. I would love to hear from you. I have got a Facebook group that I would love for you to join. Its name is Christine McLaren Art. This is a space where members like you can upload and share pictures of your completed tutorials. I love to see the finished tutorials of all of my followers. So, if you complete this tutorial, please post a picture in my Facebook group for me to see. Facebook is a bit confusing, but I also have a Facebook page. This is the place where I share links to my videos. So, just to be safe, why not go ahead and like and join both the Facebook page and group? Then you won't miss a thing, and I will be able to see your finished artworks. I'm having a bit of a problem here because I'm starting to get a hard edge because the inside is drying before I'm getting a chance to blend it. So I'm just working carefully here and putting a bit more pigment down. But when I blend it now, I must make sure that I come with clean water on my brush. Otherwise, there's going to be too much orange on the leaf. So I'm just rinsing off my brush, and then with that moisture on the brush, I'm going to come and try and touch the edge to encourage blending. But now there is pigment on my brush, so I'm going to rinse it off so that I can do the same on the right hand side. And because the paper underneath is not completely dry, it's not getting a hard edge, and I am able to still blend it. Now I will pick up that darker orange again and just try and increase that pigment. Let me put some yellow on the inside. And now I think because I've added a bit of water, I must intensify the darker red on the outside again. And then let me just dot some around the central vein. It seems to be quite dry here. I'm just going to add a bit of moisture before I get there, because I can see it's not blending down here at the bottom. I've got the air conditioner on in the room today, and that is why the page is drying quite fast. If you are enjoying this tutorial and are gaining value from it, please consider making a small donation to me on my Buy Me a Coffee platform. As you can imagine, these tutorials take many hours of work to put together. I appreciate any and all donations, as they help me to continue building this platform. I'm going to let this layer dry now, because I can see that around some of the edges that are drying, that I would like a bit more of an intense red than there is right now that it's drying. So rather than overdo it on this layer, I'm going to let this whole thing dry and then come back, do the central veins, and also just see and assess if there's anything else I wish to add. Now that it's completely dry, what I want to do now is just intensify some of the edges. I really want to push them to be a darker and more intense red. To do that, I'm just going to prepare, I'm going to do Hansa Yellow Light. I'm just going to mix it in this darker red area that I had originally. And I'm going to put Quinacridone Rose with it. I just want to add a bit more. It's a really nice dark red, and it is quite concentrated on my brush there. So I don't want to overdo it, but I do want to just really accent the very edges of the leaves. So I'm kind of going to repeat the last step that I did, but just not as much, and not with all three colors. I am going to wet each section, and then I'm going to get that darker color and put it around the edges. I don't want it to blend too far because I want to keep the lighter area on the center. Let's see how far it blends if I put this color that's on my brush around the edges. This brush is very heavily loaded with the pigment at the moment. I'm just touching it really lightly so that the color doesn't go too far. I might come and blend that more a bit just now, but the brush is too heavily loaded for me to do that now. I don't want to rinse that concentrated color off my brush, so I'm going to use the brush that I had been using for the water and just see if it needs any help with blending here. And that's actually fine up there. Maybe here needs a bit of help. And I'll just dot my brush here so I get more of an even blend at the tip. But I'm trying to leave the center entirely alone. I just don't want a hard edge to form here, so I'm just blending that out there. Yeah, I think that's that's kind of what I was looking for, is a deeper, redder edge. I'm also going to do the center dot here, so I'm just going to put some water around that area. Maybe just a swipe down there. I'm just going to help this area blend. I just don't want a solid transition between the red and the green. I'm just dropping in a last bit of pigment here where the one color is transitioning to the other, particularly down here at the bottom. But I'm happy with how that is looking now. I want to do the central veins on the leaf, but I want it to be completely dry when I do so. So I'm going to let this dry entirely, and then I'll come back and do the veins. I'm happy with how this is looking now that it's dry. The only thing that there is left to do is the veins of the leaf, and to do that I'm going to use my rigger brush. This is a number 2 rigger brush. It is nice and long. It carries quite a large amount of pigment in it, but it can form a very sharp pointed tip. So I'm going to wet my brush and pick up this pigment in a fairly concentrated mix. And even though the rigger brush is quite narrow, the harder you press, the thicker the line becomes. I'm going to have to make sure that I hold the brush and just touch the tip on the page to do narrow lines. If I press harder, then it is going to make the lines thicker. So I'm going to keep that in mind. So I will just work through leaf by leaf. I had already put the guidelines for myself as to where the veins were going to go. And I'm just going to take my time, making sure that I work lightly so that my lines stay nice and narrow. Now that it's dry, the only thing left that I'd like to do is just do this little central circle again, because I can see where the lines meet, and I would like a bit more of a concentrated circle in the center. So I'm going to lay some water down just in that area so that I can drop my concentrated pigment in and get it to blend. I can see that layer is not completely dry, that's why the lines are smudging out, but That's okay. I didn't want them to be too definite anyway. But maybe what I've got to do is just, I don't want to see hard edges here. So without touching the lines, I'm just going to blend this out a bit. I was a little impatient there and didn't wait for that layer to dry completely. Even with that, I'm getting the smudged look in the center, which I was aiming for anyway, so that's helping me. I just need to make sure I don't get hard edges. Now I'm just going to pick up that concentrated pigment with my number 4 brush and just drop it in at the center here, just so that it's a bit of a focal point. And I might even pick up a little bit of Ultramarine, so it can get really dark, more of a maroon color, and drop that in there. Alright, now I'm going to let this dry. I'm just going to keep an eye on it as it dries, and if I get any hard edges forming at the edge of that circle, I'm just going to smooth them out as it dries. And there's the final sketch. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please hit the like button. Until next time, bye for now.